My friend Paul Seegert joins us now. He is a healthcare expert. Paul, how are you today?
Doing great. How are you, Leland?
I'm good. So a mean billionaire, they're usually just greedy and awful, has come up with a way that might lower medication costs for people by an enormous percentage. Let's go with a background on this first. Why does prescription meds, why do they cost so much? Let's talk about that middleman that gets in the way.
Yep. So you have a bunch of waste that we allow in our system that our peer countries do not. Pharmacy benefit managers are the source of most of the waste in the system, or certainly a lot of it. They do not make drugs. They do not wholesale drugs. They do not retail drugs. They manage the formulary for your health plan, so that means they get to say, yes, the drug can go on the list. Here's what the copay will be. And then they're a third-party administrator that processes and pays those drug claims. And they used to provide that service for a per-script fee, a small fee. Fast forward to today, and they represent 30 to 60% of the cost of lots of prescriptions, even though they're not making the drugs, wholesaling the drugs, or retailing the drugs.
So while the left in Washington is trying to pass laws about price gouging during inflation rising, they allowed an actual inflationary gouge system to set up whereby a middleman stands between you and your medications and just takes a scoop of the money off the top for themselves for providing a very minimal service that could be done in a lot of other more efficient ways for a much cheaper price. In other words, it's arguable whether that service is even necessary to begin with. And they're able to gouge by artificially inflating the price of those drugs just for standing in the spot they're standing in.
That's right. They're pretty much lording over the formularies, so they have a lot of power there. They get to operate in transparency. When we talk about big pharma, everybody thinks about drug manufacturers, and they get painted as these evil big corporations, when in fact, in year over year, these manufacturers often get less for the drugs that they manufactured as the pharmacy benefit managers demand more and more each year. So even though the cost of the drug itself in entirety might be growing, the manufacturer is getting less. It's an incredible thing that we allow. And it's like this Affordable Insulin Now Act that's been rumbling around in Congress for the last couple of months is a complete red herring and puts a spotlight on this very conversation where you have Congress people that can come out and say, hey, we're going to limit the cost of insulin. It's too expensive. No insulin will cost more than $35. When you read into it, the actual bill itself, they're leaving all this waste untouched. They're saying your copay won't exceed $35. But, hey, insurance payment model, pharmacy benefit managers, all of you that are piling on, you can continue to do business as normal. We're just going to insulate the consumer from feeling it by limiting the size of their copay, but it will just backfire, as it usually does, by pushing more cost into the insurance plan and creating a bigger increase at renewal.
They just can't let go of control, and these middlemen are most likely cronies of those politicians, though, so they'll never make them back down. They'll never get them out of the way. Right. So meantime, we get a billionaire, Mark Cuban, who comes up with an idea. And the reason I keep talking about this nasty, mean billionaire is that only a billionaire could afford the size and scale. What he's doing is going to be very profitable for him, and I applaud him for that. But it's also going to be, he's going to be making a profit by delivering a better, more affordable service to the people. And the only way he's able to do this and bypass that middleman is because he has enough money to engage in this in economies of scale. A small startup could never pull off what he's doing at the scale that he's pulling it off. So describe what Mark Cuban has come up with.
So it's Mark Cuban's cost plus drugs, and very simply put, the business model is to buy a drug at volume, where you're getting a very good price on this drug, and he's using generics to start. Buy a drug, put a set 15% markup and a processing fee, all in, I think ends up being about $20, and then selling it to the consumer with that. In normal business terms, that's a nice markup.
Yeah, it's 15%. It's pretty good.
Small.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the drug world, that's not a lot.
So only a guy who has the resources that Mark Cuban has can sit back and go, you know what? I'll take 15% profit and save everybody money and solve this problem. And what's going to end up happening is if he's effective with this and it becomes a big deal, those middlemen are going to have to start backing off their fees. They're naturally going to have to try to compete, right?
Yeah, it's going to bring free market forces into healthcare, which we don't really have them in healthcare right now. We don't have free market healthcare in this country. We have this complex, this medical industrial complex, if you want to call it that. And another thing that he's doing that's extremely revolutionary, although it sounds very simple, he's not taking insurance, and that's where he's gained this freedom to do what he's going to do. He has resources, like you say. He also had the guts to say, I'm not going to take insurance, because if you take insurance as a pharmacy, you have to then, by your contract terms with these insurance payment model, the PBMs, the insurers, you have to allow them to dictate to you what you can sell a drug for, even when they're not involved in the transaction. So if I'm a pharmacy on the corner and I take insurance, which is how most people buy their drugs, I'm not allowed to sell you a drug at a fair cash price.
Right.
I have to. It's dictated to me, and they're going to elevate the dictated cash price to be above what their supposed discounted price is with the insurance to manipulate the numbers.
Right. So let's say I need a medication because I just cracked my body today at the gym, setting a personal record for leg presses. So let's say I need a medication. I got to go in, and I say, you know what? I'm going to skip my insurance this time, and I'm just going to do it myself. If the pharmacy uses that middleman, they have to sell it to me more expensive than I would if I use my insurance.
That's right.
Okay, that seems illegal.
It should be.
It should be, shouldn't it? It should be It should be freaking illegal.
And another great thing about this is that, Mark, you made a good point earlier. Mark Cuban could do this on scale. He's Mark Cuban.
Right.
Others have already done it.
Yeah.
There are cash pharmacies set up around the country, but they're very small.
Right.
And it's a pharmacist that's just doing what he believes he should be doing, or she.
Right.
And they're handling a very small transaction load. They don't have the resources to scale and actually compete.
Doesn't this limit the market that he has access to, though? Because, okay, so if most of my medications under my health plan, most of them are mostly covered, right? Like, I don't have a lot of medications, but if I need a medication, it's usually whatever medications I might need. They would be mostly covered. So if I were to need medication and I were to switch to Mark Cuban's model, gone would be my copay. If they pay 80% of my cost, so it might come out to maybe the medication is $10 after my insurance steps up and pays. But maybe Mark Cuban's are $30, even though it's a better price overall from what's paid. Why should I do that? Doesn't that limit his market share?
Yes. So there's going to be the challenge that we'll have to see. People are going to need to go price check it and make a decision, case by case. Is this in my best interest?
So in some cases, this is going to be a boon for people where insurance doesn't necessarily cover the best medication. I've had that happen before, where my doctor in the past had prescribed me a medication that was the best in the business. It was the best known medication, and the insurance company wouldn't pay for it. So I had to pay out of pocket for that because I wanted what my doctor recommended to me. In that case, it would save me a bunch of money to go through Cuban's process.
If he has it. And then the other issue is you've got a bunch of people out there running around with plans that have massive out-of-pocket costs before their drug.
Correct. That's a great point.
Right?
That's a great point.
A plan or something. So for them, it could be very beneficial.
Yeah, you have a lot of people that will, especially if you're young and healthy, you pick the catastrophic plan and you deal with all the other stuff on the side. This is your guy. You go there, you need code medicine, or you injure yourself like I did at the gym. I might need a little bit better of a pain pill or something for a couple of days. You go, that's where you go in and deal with that. That makes sense. That makes absolute sense. Yeah. So, well, interesting stuff. Paul, thanks for updating on this. How do you think it's going to do? Do you think Mark's going to be successful with this?
I think he will, and I think he's going to find he may have to build a complete supply chain that is parallel to the existing supply chain to really accomplish it on a global scale like he would like.
It would be awesome if he could do that supply chain not coming from China. It'd be nice if he could do that, build that supply chain not coming from China, don't you think?
Manufacture them right here.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Right here.
Well, listen, Paul, it's good to talk to you. Thanks so much. I appreciate your expertise on this.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Paul Seegert, he is a healthcare expert.